Welcome to episode 1 of Sprechen Disc Golf. Today we are going to talk about the Las Vegas Challenge, some season predictions I have, and the Gannon Buhr situation. If you haven't already checked it out, go check out episode 0, where I did a season review from last year, and that'll get you all caught up on what's going on this year if you aren't already. Also, go check out our social media stuff. We have Twitter, Instagram, and our home platform, which is spreckensports.com. More on that at the end of the video. So jumping right into it, let's talk about Vegas. What happens in Vegas doesn't always stay in Vegas, because we have the Vegas Challenge coming up this Thursday, the 23rd through the 26th. I am super excited for this. I love this event. Just a nice way to get into the season. Yeah, can't wait. So just a little bit of basic info about the event. Course schedule is a little bit different than last year. The MPO will be playing the Millennium course, the Innova course, the Millennium course, and then the Innova course. So they alternate all 4 days. And then the FPO will go Infinite course, Innova course, Infinite course, Innova course. Last year, there were some concerns about the number of courses that they were playing, so they brought it down from 3 to 2. This year, there is also a cut. We have the top 50% of FPO getting through and the top 40% of MPO getting through to the final day. So I do like having a cut. I do wish there was a little bit more of a cut earlier instead of just a massive cut with 1 day left. It feels a little weird at that point, but I get it. If it was like 10% after the first day, 10% after the second day, 20% after the third day, I think that would be, I like that better. I also understand then you have the issue of people coming out to play a pro tour and only getting to play one round. That is, so in practicality, I think the way they do the cuts is fine. In my dream, I would love if they did it a little bit differently, kind of add a little bit more pressure to that first round. Could be fun. The other problem that kind of brings up is one group has really bad conditions first round and another group has good conditions. There's a little bit of disparity there. So I guess what they're doing is fine. I guess it's fine. Some notes for the field. Just the players or about the field. 120 MPO players will be playing and 60 FPO players. Shout out to my buddy Cameron Messerschmidt, who won his qualifier today. He will be playing. Gateway sponsored guy. Now on the MPO side, I had the PDGA page for this open, and I was really excited. I was like, oh, we got a full field. Yes, we got the top guys there. We got great field right now, except for Chris Dickerson. So close. We're so close to starting out so well. Chris Dickerson, as many people know, does not like to fly, does not like to go to the west side of the United States for events. He's very much stays local, stays with his events and whatever. Does the East Coast swings, of course, and that. But it is a real big bummer because, in my opinion, I think every pro should be making a very big effort to get out to the first event of the year. Not necessarily because it will do great for their rating or they're going to win the event, but because it is really for the fans, right? The fans have been waiting all off season to get back to see an event again. And the fans are the real reason that people are able to compete professionally and play a sport as a profession, right? Like they're able to do that because of the fans. And I think it's respectful to the fans and it's kind of rewarding to the fans to give us a full field for the first event of the season. Last year, Macbeth skipped because it was 3 courses. This year he is playing, which is good. Eagle is playing this year. Injury questions. But Chris Dickerson is not playing. So bit of a bummer. I don't know if he would be a huge competitor on this course. I don't know if it shapes up to his game. I think he can win on any course, but this course does not shape up to his game particularly. So a little bit of a bummer there. On the FPO side, a little bit of a different story. We have no Kristen Tatar, no Paige Pierce, and a questionable Valerie Mandujano. I'm not sure if Val is playing or not. She is registered, but I do know she has an ankle injury, so she might be out, and if she's in, she will almost definitely be hampered a little bit by that ankle injury. So What does that mean for the field? It means someone like Jennifer Allen could sneak up and get their first Pro Tour win in FPO. Jen Allen has obviously been playing for a very long time. She is a very, known player and all that for her distance and her kind of unique style. But she does not have an FPO Pro Tour win or Elite Series win. This is likely going to be her best chance ever, maybe until the end of her FPO playing career. You don't have the two top players there. You're playing on a bomber course. She's coming off a very good weekend at the All-Star weekend. Like, this is all shaping up to be a Jennifer Allen weekend, which is really exciting. She also just came off a win at the Shelly Sharp, I believe. I'll have to fact check that, but I believe she came off a win down there in Arizona. She's in a good spot right now. Let's see if she can pull it out and get her first tour win in FPO. Other people that are kind of in that boat with her are going to be like Ella Hansen, Holland Hanley, those people that can really throw far, maybe don't have a win yet. They could be licking their chops this weekend. Looking at our previous winners from the last 4 years on the FPO side, I've got Katrina Allen, Paige Pierce, Katrina Allen again, and then Paige Shue. And then on the MPO side, we've got Drew Gibson, Eagle McMahon, Nate Sexton, and then Calvin Heimberg. We've got 7 different winners there. Katrina Allen doubled up, and 6 of those 7 will be at this event. So Paige Pierce is the one missing. Paige Shue back on tour, going to be there. Very excited for that. So let's look at LVC. Has it been an indicator of success? And the short answer for that is no. Really no, it hasn't been. I'm going to use last year, for example. Last year, included in the top 10 were guys like Drew Gibson, Luke Humphreys, Tristan Tanner, Kevin Jones, Scott Withers, Adam Hammes, and Thomas Gilbert. None of those guys had a good season after this event in terms of their own expectations for how they actually played. None of those guys really had a good season after that. So if your favorite player doesn't do well in Vegas, do not worry. Doesn't mean they're going to have a horrendous season. Doesn't mean they're not in contention. Take a deep breath, wait 2 weeks, and then breathe out and breathe a sigh of relief, because your favorite player can still do well. And if your favorite player does well, do not expect them to do well the entire season after that. Now, on the FPO side, we have a bit of a different story. So last year, the top 3 was actually indicative of what the top 3 was going to be at the end of the season, because the top 3 was Katrina Allen, Paige Pierce, and Kristen Tatar. If you followed last season, you'll know that those 3 topped the DGPT points for the year. So very good indicator over there, but this is all anecdotal data. We do not have enough to conclude yes or no, but for last year was not a huge indicator. So some other things to note is, while this is the first event of 2023 on the Pro Tour, it is not the first event of the season. We've already seen Luke Sampson and Paul Macbeth take down Silver Series events. Luke Sampson is your current leader, sitting at 73 points. He beat Chris Dickerson in a Silver Series, and I know 73 doesn't sound like a lot, but for a guy like Luke Sampson, that could actually be significant, because he did not make it to the Tour Championship last year. Guys that far down, 73 points is significant, right? So would be cool to see if that affected it a little bit. It's like, hey, here's a little bit of points thrown your way for really grinding during the off season, or so-called off season. So yeah, look out for Luke Sampson, maybe going to be in the Tour Championship this year. He wasn't particularly close last year, but he's now off to a good start. Some other people to look out for this weekend at LVC are going to be the new brand throwers. So some of the notable ones are Simon, AB, Emerson Keith, Valerie Mandujano, and Holland Hanley. All throwing new plastic this year. All top tier players, and it's going to be interesting to see. So Simon, I thought there's no way he figures out MVP disc this fast. He's been with this mania too long, right? Like, there's just no way he'll do it by some point in the season, but I didn't think he'd be doing it by now. He came out at All-Star Weekend and he proved me and a lot of other people wrong. he was outstanding. He shot the hot round in the singles event. He just looked so dialed in. Putted 100% from circle one in singles. Hit basket or medal twice on 500-foot par threes, or at least 500-foot par threes. I mean, just if you had any doubts about Simon adjusting, they're just poof, gone right there. Simon is a competitor this week. He's a threat. He could pick up right where he left off last season and get a win. Just like that. AB, he's throwing Discraft now. He's throwing that Venom. He's throwing those Forces. He's throwing that Zone, Challenger OS, Raptor, all of this. He's throwing all this good stuff. And another thing to note about AB is he is 13 points higher than he was at the start of last year. He's currently 1039 rated, just 2 below Calvin, a little bit below Matty O, Gannon Buhr in that field. He is very highly rated right now. I am really excited to see what he brings. This could be the year of AB. He is done with school. He can focus fully on the Pro Tour. He can think about that, tour full time, do all of that stuff, practice more. He's really primed and set up with the talent he has, the arm he has, to be a top tier player. We just need to see it in a tournament now. We need to see it in the biggest stage. So look out for AB. Valmanda Hano, we might not get to see her this weekend, but I am excited to see her throw another Discraft thrower, as well as Holland Hanley. Holland Hanley is a threat this weekend. She's a big arm, really nice controlled player. She has great form. She makes some great Instagram videos. If you haven't seen it, go check her out on Instagram. She makes some really cool form stuff and form advice videos. So I've benefited from it. I know a lot of people can. Seriously, go check out Holland Hanley's Instagram. So I hope we get to see Val this weekend. I hope we get to see Holland Hanley killing it. We will see. And then Emerson Keith, I'm going to group him with all the other new Lone Star guys. So we got Emerson Keith, Robert Burridge, Nico LeCastro. All of those guys are now throwing Lone Star, which is a crazy thing because a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, if you said they're throwing a Lone Star, you'd have been like, that's not a brand. I don't know what that is. But it is a brand. They have a lot of money. Now let's see if they can, I guess they already put their money where their mouth is. Let's see if they can put their play where their money is. Because they've got big name players throwing their discs. Let's see how successful they're going to be with them. I'm excited. Know a lot of other people are. I've thrown a couple of their molds. I've thrown the Warbird. I've thrown the Harpoon. I've thrown the Dillo. The Harpoon is my favorite of their molds. But yeah, they make some good stuff. I think people need to give them a try. Their glow plastic is really nice. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see Lone Star guys this weekend. Who knows? Not the last. I just read the word last, so I said it. One of the other things we got to mention, you always have to mention about LVC, is it's very windy. So look out for players who have a nice, flat, fast putt. Those guys are going to be a lot more advantaged on the putting green, right? If you're not having to worry about as much lift or drop on your disc in the wind. And then people who throw overstable. So when I think people who throw overstable, you think Drew, you think Calvin, you think Ricky, you think Simon. Those guys are all threats. You think Eagle, because if you're able to throw overstable, then you are really able to play in any wind condition, right? Headwind, you can put on a little more hyzer. Tailwind, you can either go to your understable or you can just pop it out on a little more anhyzer. So those players that have a really wide variety of discs they can throw, I think are going to be more successful. And that's most of the tour at this point, but I think it's worth mentioning. So I went to last year's LVC results and I looked at what were the stats that were indicative of success there. So putting is really key. Last year, Drew and Gannon, who went to the playoff, both were putting over 45% outside of circle one. That's crazy. That's a crazy high number. We saw Gannon hitting those crazy knee putts. We saw Drew with the stepper that we haven't really seen before. He used to be known for being a bad putter, and he really turned it up. So check that out. Circle 2 especially, but strokes gained putting was super important for successful players last year. One thing that was not important was OB rate. Turns out that OB rate had almost nothing to do with success. There were some guys that went OB 12 times, some guys that went OB 5 times, and they were tied. Or one was, yeah. It didn't matter. The point is, the course was rewarding aggressive play. If you were playing aggressive, you might have gone out of bounds a bit. Scrambling at Vegas is generally easy because it's so open. So you have to be aggressive if you want to win. You cannot sit back. You cannot just sit back. You got to be aggressive. You got to get those. You got to go for those eagles. If you take a bogey or an OB here and there, it is not going to derail your tournament, but you do have to at least try, because there were some players that barely went OB that were really, really low down. So that safe play generally doesn't play as well at Vegas. So I am going to give y'all some predictions from LVC. I got my MPO and FPO top 3 as well as dark horses for each of them. Starting out with MPO, I've got Calvin Heimberg, Ricky Wysocki, Simon Lizotte. Calvin, he's won this event before. He's looked really good doing it. Last year, he increased the speed of his putt a bit, so it is a little more wind resistant. I think it's a lot more confident. It looks better, and I have a lot more confidence in it. He putts solid from circle 2. I don't think a lot of people realize this, but he has a higher circle 2 putting percentage than Ricky Wysocki. He's a sneaky good putter from circle 2, and I think it's because he doesn't really change his form unless he's deep. So it's like those 35, 40 footers, we don't even notice they're that because Calvin's just doing his normal thing. Second place, Ricky Wysocki. You could put him second place for any event on the planet, and it would probably be a reasonable take because of how he's Ricky Wysocki. I mean, there's nothing you can say about it. He's a fantastic player. The one thing I will say actually is his wrist was bothering him, so he dropped out of the All-Star weekend. If that is still a factor, might take him out of contention. I could still see him getting top 10 easily, but if the wrist is a factor, I think it will be tough for him to win because the field is so strong. Everyone's getting ready, and it's going to be a birdie fest out there. Playing for par is not going to win you LVC. Last but not least is Simon Lizotte. I did not originally have him in the slot, but after seeing him tear it up at the All-Star weekend, I had to put some more respect on his name. Throw him in the top 3. If he won, I wouldn't be shocked. He just astounds me every time I watch him. What a fantastic player. Really excited to see him play with MVP this year. FPO top 3. I have Jennifer Allen, Henna Blomroos, and Haley King. Kind of controversial picks, a little bit weird not having Katrina Allen up there. But I thought I'd have a little fun with it. So Jen Allen, we already talked about her. Best chance to win maybe in the rest of her career in FPO. Hopefully she takes advantage. And then Henna and Haley King, I think, have decently similar games. They're both very good at controlling distance. They both throw very far. Haley King has that really big forehand. And Haley King is a super smooth putter and everything. So I think both those two can compete this weekend. I would give Henna the edge in terms of competing for a win, just because I like her success with overall winning. Like, she has more experience winning than Haley does. But either of those could really pop up. Last but not least, we have Mr. Albert Tom as my dark horse. The reason I have him here is because he was actually in the top 3 in Precise Power Index last year, according to, which is a UDisc stat about throwing far and accurate. And Vegas rewards that absolutely. Like, he'll be able to be aggressive and be accurate about it, get some eagles here and there. Hopefully he's been working on that putt. I imagine that's a lot of what you do when you're a disc golfer who lives in Estonia in the winter. You probably work on your putt a lot because there is it's kind of cold over there, in case you didn't know. A little chilly in Estonia. So hopefully he worked on that putt. He can really reel it in this year and be a competitor. My dark horse for FPO is a little bit of a strange one. It's Maria Oliva. I do not think Maria Oliva is going to win. I don't know if this course suits her well that at all for a win, but I think her game suits her well to get into the top 10. I think it's a Sexton-esque game where she's going to be very controlled. She's going to make her putts. She's going to play well. And we're going to have the people going for eagle that are going to get eagle, and they're going to be the top 5. the people going for eagle who will get like a bogey or double bogey, and they're going to be the bottom of the field. And then Maria Oliva is going to take a par or birdie every round, and she's going to sit right in the top 10. So she just won Goat Hill. She looked really good doing it. Like her game was fantastic. Her putting was great. She's just a really, really great controlled player. So would not be shocked if she was able to put in a good shift this weekend. Some bold takes for Las Vegas Challenge. Of course, Jen Allen wins first FPO Elite Series. You've already heard about that. I would say that's a pretty bold take. She could arguably be my dark horse, but I'm gonna put her up there. Brody Smith hits a top 10. I don't know if you guys follow Brody on Instagram or anything, but he just recently posted about a kind of big body transformation he went over through the off season. He lost a lot of weight. He put on a lot of muscle. And congrats to him. It's not like I think he was overweight and really needed it, but he put his mind to something and he accomplished it. And I really respect him for that. I love the idea of disc golfers looking at themselves as athletes and not just practice putting, but really putting in the work to make themselves physically more athletic. And I think it's a great look for the sport. I think Brody was already in better shape than I am. I mean, he was still, I think, an elite athlete, but he just like upped his game even more, and I really respect him for that. So great job, Brody. Love the look for the sport especially, and yeah, keep it up, man. Alrighty, so here's some season one more bold take is that Paige Shue comes back and finishes in the top 10. She's back on tour, if you don't know. She has changed sponsors from from Dynamic to Discraft. A lot of people thought she'd be with Dynamic for her entire career because she has such deep ties there, familial and just length of time there. They have sponsored her for a while. She is likely somewhat of a decision maker there. And she's now with Discraft, who apparently are supporting her in touring more and getting back out there, which I think is really exciting. She's a great, great player. Similar game to Maria Oliva. Very controlled. We last saw her when she aced at Throw Pink Women's a few months ago. She aced hole 17, just right at it. Super cool shot. If you haven't, go check that out on YouTube. So here I've got some season predictions now. We just went through LVC predictions. This is for the entire season. It is the first event of the year, so I figured I'd get some of these out there. Number one is that Gannon Buhr wins at least 3 Elite Series events. Gannon Buhr could have done it last year. He arguably should have had 2. He won that major. It was sweet. I think he's going to up it this year. I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with, and I'm really excited to see what he brings to the table this year. What a great player. What an amazing talent we have. I can't wait to look back on this in 10 years and be like, oh my gosh, that's when he only had 1 major and not, 15 or however many he has. But yeah, excited for that. Hopefully, I think he can put up 3 Elite Series wins and really capitalize as one of the top players in the world. Calvin wins his first major. So there is this weird stigma that Calvin is a bad player at majors, and that is not true at all. Has he not won a major yet? That's correct. Will he? Yes, absolutely. So Calvin has been improving at majors year over year. He's had some bad finishes in the past, but last year he finished in the top 10 at every single major, and he was on the lead card final round at 3 of the 4 majors. He ended up with 2 major podiums, and he has been rapidly improving at majors every year. So I think it's only a matter of time. The majors this year set up really well for him. WR Jackson, he's won there before. USDGC, he's come super close, other than a roll away on 17 really cost him. And then Brewster Ridge, where Worlds are going to be at GMC. That course, he's played well there before. He can do it. That course really sets up for a really well-rounded player, and anyone can win there, I think. So look for Calvin to win his first major. Super excited. All right. Next up, Joel Freeman, Corey Ellis, or Matty Yeo get their first Elite Series win. This is not that bold of a prediction. I think these 3 guys have been really, really close. And one of them is It's Only a Matter of Time. I think it will probably be Corey Ellis. I think he kind of, as he grows and as he grows into the spotlight a little bit more, I think he'll be better equipped to handle winning and being there and having that it factor at the end. Matteo, I don't know if Matteo has it, but I wouldn't be shocked if he was able to ring out a win this year. And then Joel Freeman is really just a great, consistent player, and if he steps up his game, he could consistently win. I think that's something that a lot of people haven't thought about, but if Joel Freeman gets a taste for winning, who knows? He might not stop. So keep an eye out for those three this year getting a win, well, at least one of them. That's all I'm saying. One of them gets a win. And then my last prediction is a player outside of the top 6 will win Worlds. So the top 6, I have Macbeth, Wysocki, Heimberg, McMahon, Dickerson, and Buhr. The reason I say that is because the depth of the fields is getting way deeper. I mean, the difference between 10th and 1st is a crazy small gap now compared to what it used to be. You have guys rotating into the top 10 that you could argue are, number 1 players in the world at one point, like Simon. Simon wasn't really in the top 10, in my opinion, at the beginning of last season. Got in there, and then it's like, oh my gosh, he won 4 events. Like, he's playing like the best player in the world right now. So really just crazy what the top 10, top 15 players can achieve and how much rotation there is nowadays. So I think a player outside that top 6 win Worlds, and I'm not going to predict exactly who until that episode comes out, but I have a couple people in mind. So now on to the FPO side for season predictions. First one is that Kristen Tatar dominates again, continues her podium streak, and wins 2 majors this year. Last year, she kind of gifted a major to Paige / there was the Elaine King situation. If you don't know, Kristen Tatar's young daughter caddies for her. The PDGA has an age requirement for caddies. Kristen Tatar's daughter was not in that age requirement. Elaine King, who is a commentator on the Disc Golf Network, was commentating, noticed that, and texted Paige Pierce's caddy, who was on their card at the time. Paige Pierce's caddy then alerted someone who had authority, who talked to Jeff Spring. I think got a whole situation. Basically, Kristen's daughter ended up having to step off of their card, go back in with the spectators, and she ended up holding one of the spectator signs, I believe. But jarring for Kristen. Your young daughter is now back with a bunch of strangers. You probably have that kind of on your heart and back of your mind. And she ended up 3-putting on 18 or 4-putting something on 18 to lose to Paige at this was all at Champions Cup. European Open, Kristen was not there. I think Kristen wins that potentially. And then, of course, Kristen dominated at Worlds and got second at USDGC. So I think she continues to dominate. And kind of what I was talking about goes into my next point, which is that I don't think Paige is going to win a major. She talked about not having that competitive edge anymore, and I just don't see that with how deep the FPO field is getting. I think you need that edge to win a major. She kind of got one not handed to her, but she had a very advantageous position going into that with what happened during the round. And then European Open, Kristen wasn't there. It wasn't the best field. And so I think as more players start to head over to Europe, now that we have a full Pro Tour event out there, as Sula is now one of the full Pro Tour stops, I think we're going to get a bigger field, more competition. And I do not think Paige Pierce takes down a major this year. Haley King finally breaks out with the consistent, solid finishes. I think we've been waiting for this one for a bit now, but Haley King is still super young. She's got a big forehand, big backhand, mega smooth putting, great upshots. I've talked about her a little bit already. I think she finally starts putting in a little more consistency. When you watch her game, it looks like everything's going right, and then you see that she ended up in like 40th, and you're like, well, what went wrong? Like, how does that happen? I don't know, but I am excited for her to finally put in some really consistent years, and she's still, again, very young, so a lot of potential there. My last prediction is that Evelina wins an Elite Series this year. Now, this might be a little bit of a controversial take, but I don't think people realize how dominant Evelina was in Europe before she got to America. Like, when Seppo Paju said that Krista never beat those girls from Finland, he was right. Evelina was dominating over there. And she just got over to the US and she started to get a case of the yips. And if you don't know what that is, it's a mental block that affects you physically. So for instance, I actually had it over the summer. I had a couple months of having kind of the same thing Evelina does, where every time I putt, I would clench up my hand right when I was about to release, and I would hit front cage from 5 feet every time during a tournament. And it was insane, driving me crazy. Doesn't matter how much I changed up my form. It happens. It just is what happened. I don't think people realize that it's a mental thing. I see comments like, "Oh, Evelina, just switch up your style." It's like, you think she didn't think of that? You think she doesn't practice other things to try and make it work? It's fully mental. Once she overcomes that, I think she will become a force on the US tour. I think she's going to be a multiple wins a year kind of player in the very near future, and I don't think people are ready for it. And I think they're going to be really surprised because they don't realize that she is an outstanding player. She's a major win. She got a major win very young. She won Kona Peach Day of the Year. Eagle won it. She is an outstanding player. So keep an eye out for Evelina. Once she starts to putt, she might be unstoppable, even more than Kristen. Alrighty, that is the end of my LVC and my 2023 season predictions, and we're now going to get onto the elephant in the room, the Gannon Buhr situation. So kind of just to preface it, just going to say this sucks for both sides. Gannon is a young kid. He hasn't really done a lot wrong in the public eye, especially. He's been respectful and everything like that. And now this lawsuit comes, and I imagine it is messing with him a lot mentally, and a lot of insecurity kind of going on toward his future and that. So I feel for Gannon. I feel for Prodigy. You feel like you have this big up and coming young player. You feel he broke his contract. You don't know what to do. You feel like everyone's going to be against you no matter what. I do get that. So going into it, I'm going to tell you all of the facts that I have. Now, I am not a lawyer. I do not have law experience in this field. I do have some law education through my college courses, but that is mostly in tort law and corporation law. So nothing in contractual law. I do not have anything new to add to this. I'm just going to repeat facts that I've read. So I did read the entire 19-page submission by Prodigy, that kind of what they're alleging. And they are alleging breach of contract by Gannon. In particular, here's the kind of facts. So on February 13th, Gannon came out with a video saying, "I am leaving Prodigy Discs. I'm no longer sponsored by them. I'm finding a new sponsor. Basically, I'm leaving Prodigy." So everyone thought, oh my gosh, that's crazy. This is so late in the season. Gannon then shows up to the All-Star Challenge, wipes all his discs. We don't know what he's throwing. And it comes out that Prodigy is suing Gannon Buhr for breach of contract. Now, what they're alleging is that he breached his contract by either seeking other sponsorship opportunities and not letting them know. They have a clause that they are allowed to try and match any other offers he gets before he accepts them. And then they are also alleging that he's breaching his contract by announcing he was leaving when he wasn't actually authorized to leave. So a couple things here. Gannon then fires back and alleges that Prodigy did not give him his signature discs. He was supposed to get 2. He said he only got 1. Prodigy did not give him a Rookie of the Year disc in a respectful amount of time, I think it was. Prodigy had bad flashing and subpar product. Prodigy did not give him sales reports to confirm his bonuses and different splits of his money. And then that Prodigy owed him $500 for something and never paid him, or didn't pay him in time. Prodigy responded by saying, "We did pay him in time. We fixed, if what you alleged is true, we fixed it. The rest is false." So not exactly sure what that means there, but which ones are exactly true and how that all went down. But yeah, so that is all of the facts I have. So I'm about to say personal opinion stuff. So take what I'm saying now with a grain of salt. This is what I think. Let me grab a sip of water here, but this is just stuff, my opinion, my take on the situation, and how I see it going down. So, how it looks to me, again, I read the entire document. It was 19 pages. I read it earlier this evening. From what it looks like, I am inclined to believe that Gannon breached his contract. The reason I'm inclined to believe that is because when Gannon's team, or Gannon, or his legal team, or his parents, whatever, were talking about Prodigy breaching the contract, they didn't use the word contract, they used the word promised a lot. And I think that was a carefully picked language, because I think that's the truth. I think Prodigy might have promised him, said like in an email or a message or a phone call, hey, we're going to give you 2 Signature Series discs. That does not mean that Prodigy breached his contract. From my understanding, those can be separate, true things. Gannon might have legal recourse for saying, hey, you promised me these discs, you need to produce them. That does not mean they breached his initial contract. Those are 2 separate things, I believe. And so the promise that they made after a contract is signed does not then apply to the previously signed contract. Now, is it in the initial contract? I do not know. I do not have access to that contract, so I cannot say, but the way that they were phrasing that makes me inclined to believe that it was not. I do believe that Prodigy will win in either a settlement outside of court or in court, from the look of it, unless Gannon's team has something up their sleeve that they're hiding, or that they know that Prodigy doesn't know, something like that. But from my initial look at it, I do predict Prodigy winning. That being said, no matter what happens, Prodigy lost. Prodigy is losing, because there is nothing Gannon Buhr realistically could have done that would make him look like the aggressor and would make Prodigy look like the victim. There's nothing that he really could have done in the realm of reality that would make that situation better. Prodigy, if you look at it, they're suing a 17-year-old kid and his parents for a breach of contract. Now, did he breach his contract? Maybe. It sounds like he might have. Yeah. Does that make Prodigy's actions right? Legally speaking, sure. Morally and ethically speaking, probably not. I think if you're Prodigy, what you have to do is you have to accept that Gannon wants to move on from you. You have to say, we regret that Gannon's leaving, especially before the end of his contract. We at Prodigy, we appreciate players, bearing their full legal responsibility to us. But that being said, we wish Gannon the best of luck. That's what they probably should have said. Instead, we were right here. Prodigy is trying to prevent him from finding a new sponsor. That is, they have some submissions about trying to prevent him from going and getting a new sponsor during this thing. So some of the possible outcomes of this. Gannon will likely be throwing Prodigy discs for the near future. There's also a chance that Gannon doesn't have a sponsor for this year. If this goes the ways of Prodigy and it goes quickly, or it goes the way of Gannon and it goes quickly, you never know, it could split. But there is a good chance he doesn't have a sponsor. I think it's more likely he just throws Prodigy for the year. Another thing, and this will likely take a while. The legal system is not exactly rapid, and disc golf I cannot imagine is high up on the priority list. So this might take a long time. We might not know the conclusion of this until even like next year. So we could see a settlement outside of court. I do see this drastically hurting Prodigy sales. I work for a disc golf retailer, so I do kind of have an inside understanding of what sells and what doesn't, and what influences buyers. And I can tell you this is going to massively negatively influence the buyer toward Prodigy. Like this is definitely financially devastating for Prodigy. I think Prodigy Europe will still thrive, but I cannot imagine Prodigy America will do anything similar to their previous issue numbers for a little while. So is this the end of Prodigy? Probably not, but it could be the start of the end of Prodigy if we're talking realistically. So that is all I am going to say on the Gannon situation. I prefer not to speculate too much because, especially with legal issues like this, it can draw weird, messy conclusions and add just fuel to a fire that we don't need burning. Especially when we have like a 17-year-old kid involved, we really don't want to add legal turmoil to his life. I don't want to be responsible for that. So that's all I'm going to do speculation wise. If we get more information, I will keep you guys updated with that. But you've heard me speculate. You've heard my thoughts about it. That's all we're going to say on that. Thank you guys for joining us, for checking out episode 1, official episode 1. If you like what you see, comment, like, and subscribe down below, please. It would mean the world if you guys dropped a positive comment or something constructive about what you want to see in the future. Also, go check out our social media stuff. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and if you're listening on Spotify, we're also on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, you know we're on YouTube. Also, check out our platform. Our platform is spreckensports.com. And it is a place where you can go and join a live event and chat with other people watching the same event. So go to our homepage, look through our list of events. We have Las Vegas Challenge up. So if you're watching it on Disc Golf Network and you want to talk with other people about it, join the event. I'll be in there chatting about it. You guys should too. I'd really love to see some of you guys in there this weekend. So yeah, that's spreckensports.com. Link will be down below. Thank you guys for joining me, and I will see you on the next episode.